Should I be doing more to support my 28M wife 27F after she was assaulted by my cousin 37M? And how do I get my family to understand the seriousness of what happened? Hey Reddit. This is hard to write, and honestly, I feel lost. I'm a 28-year-old guy, and my wife is 27. We've been married for a couple of years, and we've always been incredibly close. But recently, something awful happened, and it's shaken us both to the core. A couple of weeks ago, we went to a family gathering on my side. My cousin, who's 37, was there too. He's someone I grew up with, and while we're not especially close, we've always been friendly. My family has a tradition of these gatherings, and they're big on keeping everyone connected, so it felt natural to be there. The evening was going fine, or at least I thought it was, until later. My wife seemed a bit off when we got home, but she didn't say much at first. Later that night, though, she broke down and told me something really disturbing happened involving my cousin. She managed to get away from him, but the whole thing left her feeling shaken and deeply uncomfortable. Hearing this from her shattered me. My first reaction was anger, and I wanted to confront him right away, but she begged me not to. She was afraid and didn't want things to escalate, especially considering how my family might react. My wife has always been someone who avoids conflict whenever she can, and she told me she didn't want a huge family blow-up. I respected her wishes, so I held off, though it's been really difficult. Since that night, I've been trying to support her as best as I can. She's understandably been struggling with anxiety, not sleeping well, and she's mentioned that she's not comfortable attending family gatherings anymore if he's there. It breaks my heart to see her so distressed, and I feel completely powerless. I suggested talking to a therapist to help her process everything, but she's still hesitant about that step. Then, there's the issue with my family. I haven't told them exactly what happened, but I did mention to my mom that there was an incident that made my wife uncomfortable around my cousin. My mom brushed it off, saying my cousin is just a little too friendly sometimes and he doesn't mean any harm. Hearing this floored me. I tried explaining that this wasn't just a simple misunderstanding, but she kept making excuses and downplaying the situation. It feels like I'm at a breaking point. My wife is struggling, and while I'm trying everything I can to support her, it doesn't feel like enough. And my family's reaction is making things worse. It seems like they're prioritizing keeping the peace over supporting her, and that's something I can't just ignore. I feel torn between standing by her fully and somehow getting my family to understand how serious this is. Reddit, what should I do here? Should I go ahead and confront my cousin despite my wife's fears? Or should I try to have another conversation with my family, even though they've already shown they don't seem to get it? I love my family, but I love my wife more, and I can't just let her suffer in silence while they act like nothing happened. Update. First of all, thank you to everyone who responded. Reading through your advice helped me see things more clearly. I realized that while I was so focused on balancing things with my family, I was unintentionally neglecting what was most important, my wife's well-being. After my post, I sat down and had a long, heartfelt talk with her. I explained that while I understood her fear of confrontation and didn't want to pressure her, I also felt like something needed to be done. I assured her that whatever decision she made, I'd be there to support her. She was quiet at first, just processing everything. Surprisingly, she eventually agreed that we needed to address this somehow. She said that after seeing how dismissive my family had been, she realized we couldn't rely on them for support. She's still not comfortable confronting my cousin, but she's open to talking to a therapist now. I promised her I'd be by her side no matter what. We scheduled her first therapy session, and she's had a couple since then. She told me it's been helpful to have someone neutral to talk to and validate her feelings. I'm genuinely grateful that she's getting some support outside of all the family tension. The therapist has also been helping her work through the anxiety and stress she's been feeling, and while it's a long road, I can already see some positive changes. As for my family, I decided it was time to be straightforward. I gathered a few relatives who I thought might be more understanding and explained the situation. I expected them to be dismissive, but, thankfully, they took it seriously. My sister, especially, was outraged and told me she'd support us if we took further steps. A few others echoed her sentiment and agreed that my cousin needed to understand his actions weren't okay. I also had a direct conversation with my cousin. I told him that I knew about his actions and that they were completely unacceptable. He tried to downplay it, saying my wife had misunderstood, but I made it clear there was no misunderstanding and warned him not to make her feel uncomfortable again. My cousin since tried to reach out, but I've blocked him on everything. I can't believe it took all of this to see who he really is, but I'm done. I also told the rest of my family that I won't tolerate anyone excusing his behavior, and if they want a relationship with us, they'll need to respect that. My mom's still in denial about the whole thing, but honestly, I've stopped worrying about what she thinks. My wife's well being comes first.